How do we release baggage in our lives so that we don't mess up our next relationship? I'm going to show you a simple technique that I utilize when I coach people on one way of discovering what baggage you're still carrying and why you're carrying that baggage. Because if we don't know why we're carrying such baggage, then we will have no idea as to how to alleviate ourselves with that baggage and then not carry it into the next relationship. Because a lot of people carry baggage, and then as soon as they see someone acting a certain way, although their reason for being that way may not be the same as a previous person in your life, all of a sudden you translate it to meaning the same thing. For instance, a person doesn't call you and let you know that they're running late. But because your previous relationship, they didn't call you because they were running late because they was out cheating on you. Now this person doesn't call you and you put them in the same category. Why? Because you're carrying the baggage of a previous relationship, or you're carrying the baggage of previous influencer. If you watched your parents and you watched the father be dominating over your mom and be abusive towards your mom, and then you decide, not because it happened to you, but you're going to now be controlling over every person in your life so that you don't have the same issue as your mom, you now are a controlling person, but you're carrying baggage that you learned from someone who was most influential in your life. So I'm going to take you through a brief little methodology for you to be able to overcome some of these things if you're willing to do the work. So the first thing that I do, and I know this may be backwards because it's not mirrored, so you may see this differently, but understand. Have my clients draw circles, 10, 9-year gap circles, or technically it is 10 years, but 0 to 9 years old, 10 till 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 39, and so on and so forth until you reach your age. Now, up under each circle, and you may do these on each individual page, you write the question, where did I live during that time frame? So where did you live during that time frame? The next question, what is your greatest achievement in that time frame, or what were you most happiest about? The next question, what were your greatest disappointments? Or what was the biggest traumas that occurred to you during that time frame? And then the last one, in each time frame, who was most influential in your life during those time frames? You see, when we are able to look at our lives in gaps of time frames, it enables us to be able to distinguish what events molded us into who we became and who we are. And when you do this with a focus on relationships, you get to say that, well, like for me, from 0 to 9 years old, although the majority of, until I became an adult, I lived in Atlanta, I separated it between the places around Atlanta to which I lived. So whether I was living with my grandparents in Marietta, or I was living with my mom in certain parts of Marietta, whether I was living with my mom in Techwood Homes, and if you know Techwood Homes, you know what kind of life that was. But I was living in Techwood Homes at certain time frames. I put all the different places that I live because one thing that understanding where you lived in all those time frames helps you to be able to clearly focus on the next three questions better. Because what did I achieve between 0 through 9? From 10 till 19, what was my biggest disappointments? You see, at 12 years old, my vision went, and prior to my vision going bad, I was looked upon as someone who was going to make it into the major leagues of baseball. But once my vision left me, that disappointment changed the trajectory of my life a lot. And then the reasons why. My mother couldn't afford to purchase glasses for me. So at that time frame, I developed a mentality around 12 years old that poverty is not for me, that poverty eliminates opportunities, and I just wasn't going to have that. So within a relationship, if a woman comes into my life and she's messing up my money, she got to go. She got to go. And I know where it comes from. It comes from the level of poverty that I endured from 0 to 9 and also from 9 to 19. So I have an unwillingness to allow someone to put me in poverty or to even mess up the finances to keep me at other levels of of classism as we have it for financial reasons. So because of those, that impacts my level, how I think about relationships. Also, I think about who was most influential during those time frames, whether it was my mother or my grandmother or my grandfather at a certain time frame was the most influential person. when I went into the Marine Corps. He was a bad influence, but Staff Sergeant Green was a bad influence. But then I had Gunny Payne later on, and he was a great influence. I know it's like flip flop, right? Green should have been a good one, and Payne should have been a bad one, right? But it was different. I lived in Germany during a certain time frame, and Tampa, Florida. So those places impacted who was around me and what job I was working in, the influencers that I had around me. All those different things impacted me. Who were my friends during those time frames? And so you start to think beyond these questions as to the people that were involved in your life and the experiences that you had. And through those experiences, you get a clearer eye on why you are who you are. And if those changes that occurred or that how you were molded, is it something that you want to maintain? But the fact that I can look back and see why money became important to me, I can look back and see how money being important to me caused me to become a workaholic for a long time. And what all did I lose during those time frames? What was I not focused on? Why there's a difference between the relationship between me and my daughters and the relationship between me and my son. I worked a hell of a lot more during my son's time frame than my daughter's time frame. When me and their mother got a divorce, how did that affect? Since that was one of those influential things of a disappointment, how did that affect me? How did that affect my relationship with my children? How did that affect my relationship with my family, with everyone around me? There's just so much. You start to dig deep within yourself, and the deeper you dig within yourself and you're willing to confront those things to say that, how can I be a better person and not carry this baggage anymore? How can I not look at a new person or any person that comes into your life, if you're still dating, and not attach to them the very things that came from someone else, because that person has nothing to do with what happened with someone else. So this is just a little quick method. It goes much deeper. I coach people through the whole process, and then there's a lot more that we go through in order to really dig deep in a person to deal with the shadow self and deal with all the trauma as well as the achievements that has happened in their lives, so that they can become a greater person, so you can become the best person you possibly can be. If you're interested in coaching, just go to coachrenz.com. That's RENZ. And you will see the different packages to which I coach people on a personal and business levels. So y'all have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.